So a very warm welcome to you all. If you're joining us at the Buddhist Society for the first time, welcome. And if you're new to meditation, welcome indeed. This is the basic meditation class. My name's Richard, and I used to teach on the Theravada Class on Monday evenings, and now I run this one and the Monday lunchtime meditation. So let's just begin by just bringing ourselves into the present by just focusing for a moment or two on how we're sitting. So if you could just find a really comfortable sitting posture, but one in which you're upright and you're capable of holding it for about 30 minutes or so. And just see if you can just settle into that position, that posture. If it feels a little strange to you, sitting so upright and not sort of leaning back into a chair or anything like that, just see if you can stay with it for a while and feel if it's possible for you to keep this posture for about 30 minutes. It's always useful in meditation to close our eyes. So there's some traditions have an eyes open position. And if you're feeling sleepy, it's probably a good idea to open your eyes. But mostly, it's a good idea to close your eyes so that we can turn our attention inwards. And let's just do that for a moment or two. And just really, if you like, just align our intention to turn our attention inwards. And we might, just for a moment or two, before we begin our formal practice, just remind ourselves of why we do this. And one of the teachings I would bring to your attention in this reminder is that the Buddha outlined in the first noble truth that we live in a world that is full of dukkha. It is imbued, it is the characteristic of the nature of the world, that it is unsatisfactory. And this causes us suffering. And to a very large extent, meditation practice is part of, an essential part of, the way that we walk to move beyond suffering. So we're just aligning ourselves with that reminder that this is why we meditate. This is the route beyond suffering. So let us just, for a moment or two, pay close attention to our body and how we're sitting. This is where the practice starts, with the body. So just get a sense of your groundedness, that is your feet on the floor if you're sitting on a chair. And if you're sitting on the floor, on a cushion on the floor, it would be your ankles and your shins, perhaps your knees, but just the points of contact with the floor. And just feel them, get a sense of them. And the invitation here, and everything I say is an invitation. The invitation is to really see if you can establish a sense contact with this area of your body. So it's just this sense of contact with the floor, with the ground. And then allow your attention just to move to your sitting bones on the chair or on the cushion. And again, the invitation here is just to sense the contact with the cushion, with the chair, and just feel the weight of your body being supported by your sitting bones. And again, with all these invitations, let me be quite precise. The invitation is to sense, to have a feeling connection. It's not to think about or imagine. So we're really directing our attention, locating our attention in the body. And then the invitation is to move your attention to your spine, either unsupported or with a light support from the back of the chair. Just feel your spine, perhaps the whole of your back, and just have a sense of it being upright, balanced, aligned. And then move your attention to the crown of your head and just perhaps lengthen a fraction towards the sky, just so that the whole of your body is just pulled up, sitting upright. And just see if you can align your head and your neck with your spine, and align your spine with your pelvis over your sitting bones, so that the whole of your body is in a nice upright position. And then for a moment or two, just take in the whole of your physical body, from the crown of your head to the points of contact with the floor, taking in your spine and your sitting bones. Just feel it all, sense it all. Notice the clothes on your skin surface and the air on your hands and your face and perhaps your arms. Just sense the boundaries of your physical body. And then bring your attention to your head, and then just feel the weight of your head. And I invite you just to see if you can just get a sense of how your neck and your shoulders are supporting the weight of your head. And take in your face, the back of your head, the crown of your head. Just feel the whole of your physical head. Get a sense of it. And then just drop your attention down into your neck and shoulder area. Just take in the whole of this upper part of your torso, the neck, the shoulders, the upper part of your back. And just notice what tension you might be carrying there. Just notice it. This is an area where we often carry a lot of stress and tension. So just see if you can consciously relax in that area. And here's an invitation for the whole of your body. Just see if you can physically relax. Just soften the body. And know that in this practice, you can't get it wrong. This is just about noticing. So now drop your attention down from the neck and the shoulder area. And take in the whole of your torso. Include your arms, your hands, just this central part of your body. Just feel the weight of it. Get a sense of your sitting bones on the chair or the cushion. Take in your spine. And then from your sitting bones, drop your attention down your upper legs, down your thighs, the backs of your thighs, feeling the contact with the chair or the cushion. Just drop your attention down towards your knees. And just feel everything, just sense it all. And from your knees, drop down your lower legs, taking in your shins and your calves. Just feel the weight of them, either resting on the floor or on a cushion. And then just take in your ankles and your feet. Feel the contact with the floor. And then the invitation now is just to move your attention to movement, a movement caused by the breath. So you'll feel this in the torso, either in the chest or in the abdomen. So the invitation is not to alter your breath in any way. It's simply to notice a sensation caused by the breath. See if you can find where the breath is most easily noticeable for you. Where does it impact most vividly? Where is it easiest for you to sense it? The usual areas are the chest, the abdomen, the tip of the nostrils. Sometimes it's a more generalized sense in the whole body. So this isn't a question you can get wrong, it's just an investigation. Where does it occur most vividly for you? So the invitation now is simply to notice the breath, sense it, where it is most easiest for you, and simply return to that place. As your mind wanders and drifts, which it will, just see if you can acknowledge the drift, catch it, acknowledge it, and just gently bring your attention back to the sensation of the breath. So you're not being asked to concentrate, you're not being asked to grasp after the breath. You're simply being invited to just place your attention on the sensations And when you drift, which you will, just notice that and gently bring your attention back. So the breath becomes like an anchor, just a stabilizing place. So a key part of this practice is the noticing of the thoughts, the distractions, things that come and go through your mind, feelings. Whatever they are, simply noticing them and knowing that your mind has drifted, and that's not a mistake, it's the nature of the mind. And simply, gently, with kindness and compassion, returning your attention to the sensation of the breath. And that last point is very important. See if you can find a way of being really kind and compassionate to yourself. So how you do the return to the breath is a very important part of the practice. You're not being asked to grasp after the breath or to stay on it the whole time. It's simply about using it as a neutral backdrop against which you can see the movements of the mind. And in seeing the movements, we bring compassion to our practice. Just a sense of kindness. We don't have to get entangled with our thoughts. We can notice them, let them go, and return to the sensation of the breath. See if you can find a light touch with your attention. So this isn't a concentration practice. If you're trying to grasp after the breath, notice that. What's being encouraged here is just a lightness, an ease of attention. above all, see if you can find a way of being kind to yourself. So just alter your position, get comfortable. So well done. That was a 30-minute sit. Just notice how you're feeling now. And normally, if we were at the Buddhist Society in that wonderful room on the first floor, we'd now do a little period of walking meditation. But that's a little bit difficult to organize via Zoom, because I don't know what sort of space you're all in. But I invite you now just for a moment or two, just to, if you would like, this is an invitation, you don't have to, but just to stand up, to alter your position, and just for a moment or two, just get a sense of what it's like to be standing as opposed to sitting. And just feel your feet on the floor and feel the uprightness of your body, and just get a sense of what it's like to be upright and standing. Perhaps feel the balls of your feet on the floor and your heels. And notice your breath. And when you're ready, just take a seat again. That's simply to give you a little bit of a different posture. It's not good to sit for too long. In many traditions, certainly in the Theravadan monastic tradition, periods of sitting meditation are interspersed with walking meditation. And there are many ways of teaching walking meditation, but if you want to do this in your own practice, the simple instruction is to find a short path, 20 to 25 meters, between a bench and a tree, or between two trees or something like that. And just simply walk up and down it mindfully. And one of the ways of doing that is to drop your attention down into the soles of your feet, so that you're noticing each footstep, the contact with the ground. In the summer, if you want to do it barefoot on a stretch of grass, that's really wonderful to do. But just get a sense of that touching the ground with each step. So that would be one little addition to your sitting practice that you might like to introduce. It is a very valid practice in its own right, walking meditation, and shouldn't be underestimated. And it's very useful to simply get some movement into the body after you've been sitting still for a long period. I had a question a week ago that was asked at this class, and I think I'll address it now, as it was a very good question. And it was, if I remember rightly, was how do you distinguish between thoughts and feelings in meditation practice? And it's a very good question. And so I want to address it in a number of ways. You'll find in modern psychology, in the literature, there's a lot of distinctions made between thoughts and feelings. But in practice, in meditation practice, we know that thoughts can often have a sentence attached to them. Like we think, I had a stressful day at work, for instance. And you can attach a sentence to a thought much more easily. But often within a thought, there is a feeling. In that sentence, I had a stressful day at work today. The feeling would be the stress. It was stressful. So stress would be the feeling that lies behind the thought. And that's one way of making that distinction. There are other ways, but that's one way. But in meditation practice, certainly in this basic practice that we're exploring this evening, it's almost not necessary to make the distinction. It can be useful further on, but in a calming, stabilizing practice, which is roughly what we've been doing this evening, it's not really necessary. All we have to know is that we have drifted from the breath or the body. So if you're having the thought, I had a stressful day at work, at that moment that you're having the thought, your attention is not located on the rise and fall of the breath. So you know that you've drifted. At least you might. The anchor of the breath gives you the opportunity to clock, to recognize that you've drifted. So the important thing is, in practice, is to acknowledge where you are. Acknowledge that you have drifted, and it's not a mistake. This is a practice where it's the natural movement of the mind. So the acknowledgement that we've drifted is the crucial bit here. It doesn't matter much whether it's a thought or a feeling. In this part of the practice, the essential thing to do is acknowledge. You're not denying the stress. You're not denying the thought. You're actually owning it. Yep, I've got this. I'm in this thought. I'm not on the breath. You know that stress has given rise to the thought. And because of your intention in the meditation practice, you let the thought go and you return to the sensation of the breath. The breath is your anchor. It's your place of refuge, if you like, in this part of the practice. So you could, if you were not being mindful, you could get involved into a whole proliferation around the thought, I had a stressful day at work. It could go off into, oh, I hate the stress, I hate the job, I want to give it up, I want to get another job, It could go off into a whole number of directions. It could proliferate. But what we're doing with this practice is we're training ourselves to acknowledge where we are and not to get entangled with it. So we acknowledge the thought, we acknowledge the stress, and we don't get entangled with it. We come back to the breath. And that's the key point, is the breath, the sensation of the breath in mindfulness of breathing gives us the opportunity to let go of whatever we're getting into. So there's a whole number of things going on there that are really important. So we're not denying where we are, we're acknowledging where we are. It's real, we're having the thought. The stress may be real as well. At the moment we're having the thought, it may be stressful for us. And we may be able to feel that somewhere in the body. Pretty much with every feeling, there is a correlation in bodily feeling. There will be somewhere in the body a place we can pick it up. So for instance, at the moment we're having the thought, I had a stressful day at work, we may be able to notice a feeling of tension in the back of the neck, for instance. For other people, it may occur in other ways. And because we're involved in this practice, we're able to let it go and move back to the breath, which essentially is calming and soothing in its very nature. And as I always emphasize in this practice, how we do the return is really crucial. And I would really encourage you to see if you can find a way within yourself of being really compassionate and kind So instead of getting into a big number about, I'm a no good meditator, I've drifted, I'm having all these thoughts, everyone else in this room is doing it much better than me, etc., etc. Instead of having all those self-critical thoughts, we can say, this is natural. It's the natural movement of the mind, and I've recognized it. And I'm going to be kind to myself and allow myself to return to the breath, because that is my refuge. So there's a whole lot of things going on there, but the really important thing is developing some self-compassion in how you return to the body and the breath. I would just add another little part to this in talking about feelings and thoughts in practice. In the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which is a really important sutta in the Pali canon, they talk about mindfulness of feelings. And here, the essential part of it is to know, is this a pleasant feeling? Is it unpleasant? Or is it neutral? So you're detaching from the content of the thought or the feeling, and you're noticing the quality, what the essential, basic, primary message of the feeling is. Do I want it? Do I not want it? Or am I just not bothered by it? Essentially, this is grasping. Do we want more of it? Grasp after it? Do we want less of it? Push it away? Aversion? Or is it neither one nor the other? We're neutral. So those are the 3 types of response we have to much of the stuff that arises in our consciousness. And that's, in a way, we're moving on now to a more insight-based part of practice. We're sort of watching how the mind responds to whatever arises in consciousness. And that's an important part of practice as well. But the essential thing at the beginning is just to notice it and see if we can let it go. And that's essentially what we've been doing. In that half an hour sit, that 30 minutes that we did a body scan. And that's a really important part of practice. And it's a good way to start your practice. It's just go through the body. It can be from top to bottom or from bottom to top. It doesn't matter how you work. Some teachers will have one preference, others will have another. And simply scan the body, noticing what's going on, what are the sensations, how is it feeling? And crucially, noticing where there are no feelings or little sensation, or where you find it difficult to feel. Noticing that too. So really just being open to everything that arises in your awareness as you scan the body. And the body is a really important place to start for a number of reasons. Firstly, as the Buddha says, it's in this fathom-long length of body. This is where it all happens. This is where everything arises. And when our attention is located in an aspect of the body, whether it's the contact of the feet on the ground or with the movement of the breath, when our attention is located on those sensations, we are in the present moment. And that's a crucial part of any meditation practice. It's learning to be in the present, learning to occupy the present moment. So much of our time we spend either in the past or in the future. Most thoughts are about something that happened earlier or something that might happen in the future. So what we're doing with this basic practice is we're simply training ourselves to be in the present moment. And it's a training. It's a work in progress for all of us. Even if you've been meditating for countless years, it's still a work in progress. So if you're starting out on this path, take great heart. We're all in the same boat, is that it's just a work in progress. So, are there any questions anyone would like to ask? You can put it in the chat if you would like, if that's an easier option for you to ask a question. I've noticed on these Zoom meetings, people aren't very forthcoming, and I can understand that. So if you want to just put something in the chat. I think what we'll do, if there are no questions, is I'd like to just give you a short practice to close the session with. Is that a question coming through? Yes, go on.
Yes, I did. I tried to raise my hand, but you didn't probably
Sorry,
see.
so okay.
Yes, I was on the call on Sunday, and you said you would do something about metta this evening, because I asked you a question on Sunday about working with the body when you've had trauma and injury and difficult stuff going on in the body, and you suggested metta was a good way to deal with that.
In that case, that's what we'll do now for the remaining minutes of this session. I'll give you a short guided metta practice. So
thank you very much.
If you would like to come now back to your meditation posture, so sitting upright on the chair or the cushion, and just close your eyes for a moment and just make contact with your body. And then perhaps just for a moment or two, just make a contact again with your breath, the sensation of the rise and the fall of your breath. And now, if you would like, I invite you to bring to mind someone who you have unconditional affection for or love, or it can be a pet, it can be a puppy, a kitten, a baby, someone in your life or some creature in your life for whom you have absolutely boundless love and affection. And just bring that to your heart, that sense of that quality of really caring, of loving, of compassion and kindness. And see if you can allow it into your heart. Allow it to light a flame, a candle in your heart of warmth and light. So allow the quality of the image or the sense of this unconditional love for this creature or person just to light a candle, a flame in your heart. And see if you can kindle that flame, and then just gently allow the light from it to spread from your heart into your torso, up to your shoulders, down to your pelvis, into your organs, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your stomach, up into your head, to the crown of your head, down your legs to your toes, down your arms to your fingers, taking in the whole of your back. Just allow the light and the warmth to spread until each muscle, each organ, each sinew, each cell is lit up and warmed with this light of kindness and compassion. If you find this difficult in any way, just notice that and see if you can just send warmth and light to that difficulty. Just imagine this candle, this flame in your heart being continually replenished with boundless energy. So it's never going to burn low. It's got a continual supply of compassion and kindness. It's never ending. It's boundless. Really allow that compassion and that kindness to extend to you and your life, taking in every aspect of it, taking in all your faults and flaws, all your qualities, all your successes, all your failures, taking in everything about you. See if you can just send this light and love right through your whole being. And then allow the light and the love from this candle in your heart to extend beyond you to all the people that are in this meeting. And perhaps to your family and friends, to all the wider community. Allow it to expand outwards. So I'll just end this short metta practice with some words from the Buddha. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will. Whether standing, walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. So just bringing to close that very short metta practice with the words from the Metta Sutta. That's very short, but that's something you can do for yourself at any time in the day or beginning or the end of your practice. You can just bring that sense of kindness to yourself. And we light it, we light the candle from a memory, a recollection, or imagination of our feelings or feelings that we have to someone or something, a creature for whom we feel just really warmth and boundless affection and kindness. And then we extend it to ourselves, through ourselves to all of our life, and then outwards to other people. And that's essentially the basic movement in metta, in loving kindness practice. I think perhaps next week, on this occasion, on Thursday, we may spend longer and do a longer practice, as I think there's probably this can be included in the basic meditation practice. So I think we're just coming to the end of this evening. Yeah, Martin.
So as we are at the end, yeah. I'm not sure if maybe you'd like to come back to this next time, but yes. I do have a question from Peter,
yeah.
who says, hi, I used to focus on my breath, but have tried doing a lighter touch as you suggested. Plus, I'm no longer counting my breath either. I find I drift off more. Is this a problem or is it normal? So.
Okay, that's a great question. I think what I would say to that is stay with it. Stay with it. I don't think it's a problem. Allow yourself to be gentle about the drifting off. Don't get into a big number about drifting off. Just see if you can just keep noticing. And if you're finding, yeah, I think just stay with it for a while. And perhaps come back to me in a few weeks or maybe a few months and see how it's going. But I really would encourage people not to have an attitude of trying or grasping after a particular mind state in meditation. This really is about just being very gentle with yourself and noticing. I mean, and the other thing I would say is if you're noticing you're drifting off, you're noticing. That's part of mindfulness practice. It's the noticing. Yeah. So see how that goes.
Thanks.
Okay, so thank you all very much for attending. There's the lunchtime meditation classes, aren't there, Marlon, tomorrow and on Monday, and I'll be back here again on next Thursday. So thank you all very much for attending.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you next week.
Thank you.